The woman in those chains is Zenobia, and she had just nearly broken the Roman world. Now, Rome had a very old, very simple rule for rebels who threatened the empire on this massive scale. They die in the dark. They are strangled in the shadows of a stone prison.
But here's the mystery at the center of today's explainer. Zenobia was not strangled in the dark. Emperor Aurelian, a hardened, highly disciplined soldier, broke the empire's oldest, most ironclad rule and kept her alive. Why? Well, I want you to look at this not as some story of ancient compassion, but as an absolute masterclass in geopolitical strategy. If we analyze this like a modern political consultant would, Aurelian's unprecedented mercy was actually a calculated, ruthless transaction.
Section 1. The Bread Supply Gambit. Okay, to really understand why she was spared, we first have to understand the sheer scale of the threat she posed.
See, Zenobia wasn't just a local rebel causing trouble. Back in AD 267, following the assassination of her husband, she stepped in as regent of Palmyra for her young son. At first, she just held the seat. But then, in AD 270, she escalates the crisis dramatically. Her general marches an army straight into Egypt and crushes the Roman prefect. So by the time she's captured in 272, look at what she actually accomplished in that incredibly short window. She claimed the bloodline of Cleopatra and challenged the emperors head-on.
Talk about leverage. The leverage she created here is literally staggering. Taking Egypt wasn't just about expanding a kingdom on a map. Egypt was Rome's breadbasket. By seizing the docks of Alexandria, Zenobia effectively put her hand right around the throat of Rome itself. She halted the massive grain ships. The wheat waiting on those docks was meant to feed 1 million Roman mouths. Holding that grain meant she held the ultimate trump card. It made her an unforgivable threat.
But she didn't just declare an all-out war immediately. First, she pulled a brilliant, almost corporate-style maneuver. She minted coins showing her son and Emperor Aurelian side by side. She was testing the waters, seeing exactly how much the Roman system would tolerate her son's legitimacy. But when Rome didn't play ball, she took the final, point-of-no-return step. She minted coins with her son alone, proclaimed as Augustus, a full emperor, equal to Rome. The negotiation phase was officially over.
Section 2. The Desert Cavalry Trap. Obviously, Emperor Aurelian could not just ignore a stolen grain supply and a rival emperor. He moved incredibly fast to get his wheat back. Aurelian marches his legions east, and the two forces collide at the Battle of Imai. The crucial detail here is how Aurelian handled Zenobia's most terrifying asset on the battlefield, the cataphracts. These guys were armored giants. We're talking horses and riders completely plated in metal, head to flank, unstoppable in a straight charge. But Aurelian uses a brilliant tactical counter. He orders his fast, unburdened Roman light cavalry to fake a retreat. The cataphracts completely take the bait and give chase. Aurelian just lets the blistering Syrian sun do his dirty work. Inside that heavy, plated armor, Zenobia's invincible warriors literally cooked and exhausted themselves under the intense heat. When they were totally spent, Aurelian's infantry turned around and destroyed them.
Defeated in the field, Zenobia falls back and is besieged inside the walls of Palmyra. Knowing perfectly well that no Roman mercy was coming, she makes a terrifying, high-stakes gamble. She slips right through the Roman siege lines at midnight. Imagine that scene, the firelight of the Roman camp shrinking behind her as she gambles her life to reach Persia for reinforcements before the Roman cavalry can run her down. She traded the power of ruling a third of the world to measuring everything she had left against the speed of a camel in the dark.
Section 3. The Propaganda of Cowardice. Well, her gamble failed, and immediately after she was caught, the Roman Empire's PR machine kicked into high gear. After her capture, Zenobia was put on trial in Emesa, and the official Roman accounts claimed that, under pressure, the great desert queen completely broke. They say she betrayed her closest advisors, sending brilliant men like the philosopher Longinus straight to the executioner's heavy axe, all just to save her own skin. But let's put on our skeptical historian hats for a moment, all right? Because that official story is highly suspect. First of all, not a single contemporary account of this trial exists. Everything we have was written decades later by Romans for Roman audiences. Think about the political convenience here. An empire desperately needs a defeated enemy to look weak. A cowardly, traitorous queen is exactly the kind of propaganda Aurelian needed. Why? Because a coward doesn't become a martyr. The conquered Palmyrines couldn't rally around a leader who threw her own people to the wolves.
Section 4. The Golden Chains Strategy. This brings us to the ultimate climax of this entire political crisis. The year is AD 274, and the streets of Rome are packed for Aurelian's massive victory parade.
The roaring crowd lining those streets expected one very specific ending. They were waiting for the Tullianum. This was a dark stone prison cell right at the end of the parade route. Every Roman knew the playbook. Captured enemies, guys like Vercingetorix and Jugurtha, were paraded through the city, taken to the Tullianum, and strangled in the dark. Period. As Zenobia walked that route, dragging her heavy golden chains, she fully believed every single step was a step toward her own execution.
But Aurelian was facing a massive strategic dilemma here. If he kills her, a dead Zenobia becomes a powerful martyr, a symbol the East could rally around for centuries. But a completely free Zenobia? That's a dangerous, proven threat who could easily ride east and start another war. Both traditional execution and total freedom were disastrous political moves. This perfectly illustrates the high-level transaction that actually took place. Aurelian broke imperial law, but he secured imperial peace. Look at the deal. Aurelian gets his massive PR victory, he resecures the vital Egyptian grain, and crucially, he neutralizes a potential martyr. In exchange, Zenobia gets her life, a luxury retirement villa, and the continuation of her bloodline. It was a cold, calculated deal performed right in front of the entire city.
Section 5. The asymmetry of mercy. Now, do not mistake this for kindness. There's a dark, brutal caveat to Aurelian's unprecedented clemency. Just consider the horrifying contrast of this mercy. Zenobia was moved to Tibar, Italy. We're talking lush green hills, a luxury villa, the sound of birdsong. She essentially became a wealthy Roman matron. But while she sat safely in those quiet gardens, her home, Palmyra, revolted a second time, and Aurelian wiped her world off the earth with total fire. Burning gates, falling ash, absolute annihilation. The woman was spared, but the city was obliterated.
And the personal cost of her survival was unbelievably heavy. Her son, Vabalithus, the very boy in whose name she had claimed the empire, the boy whose face she stamped on those defiant coins, he vanishes entirely from the historical record after the defeat. He might have died on the journey, or he might have been quietly executed in the shadows, because a male claimant to the throne was simply too dangerous to keep alive. Zenobia had to live out her days with a hollow knowledge of her city's destruction and her son's disappearance.
Section 6. Total imperial absorption. This leads us to the long-term legacy of the Desert Queen and Rome's final absolute strategic victory over her memory.
The physical evidence really reveals the depth of this absorption. Out in the Syrian desert, there are ancient stones with Aramaic script, the queen in her own words, declaring her own power. But over in Italy, there are Latin inscriptions that document Rome's complete edit of her bloodline. Her dangerous, independent identity was entirely swallowed up by the Roman machine.
Watch how this legacy just dissolves over the centuries. In AD 274, she's paraded in chains. But fast forward to the 4th century, and the Roman historian Eutropius notes that her descendants are literally living as Roman nobility, serving in the Senate. By the 5th century, there's even an alleged descendant acting as the Bishop of Florence. The rebel who tried to break the Roman Empire simply melted into its most elite senatorial families. And this was absolutely no accident. Rome deliberately blurred the details of her ultimate fate. History records 3 possible endings for Zenobia: starvation on the road, beheading after the triumph, or a long, quiet life in the Italian hills. Think about it. The same empire that meticulously carved its victories into giant stone arches deliberately lost track of how her story ended. By denying her a definitive final scene, they completely denied her a legend.
The crucial takeaway here is this: you don't truly defeat a martyr by breaking them in a dark prison cell. That just makes them immortal. You defeat them by dressing them in gold, giving them a beautiful garden, and letting them disappear right into the bloodline of their enemies until they are totally indistinguishable from the empire they try to destroy. It is a political masterstroke. Which leaves us with this final, truly provocative thought to consider. Think about those heavy golden chains one last time. Were they the ultimate symbol of Rome's total, crushing victory over a rebellious queen? Or, by surviving, thriving, and injecting her bloodline into the absolute highest ranks of the Roman elite, did Zenobia pull off the greatest negotiation in ancient history? Did she lose the war only to become Rome itself?